Tally bally ho, my fine felonious audience, 'tis I, the comedic jester of the internet, the Good Chap Gamer, and I am here with a review of the game known as We Happy Few. Relatively unheard of, this game was an absolute boon at E3 when it was presented by the developer Compulsion Games. Now, as far as the game announcements at E3, a lot of them look very interesting compared to last year's. Of course, you have your generic FPS shooters like Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and of course Battlefield 1. However, We Happy Few was a nice change from the general tone of video games that are currently being produced by the major developers. Now basically the premise of We Happy Few is to explore certain game mechanics that have not been touched on previous games, introducing us with a fresh storyline, fresh character developments, plenty of humour to go around, and a very sinister plot. Now, of course, we must remember that this is only a game preview that has been released in the early alpha stages of development. So any bugs or glitches that will be experienced in the game is kind of expected, and the developers have promised, as do all developers, that they will be fixing any problems that come the way of the players. Now, onto the plot. The game We Happy Few is based in an alternate reality in 1960s England. Playing as the character Arthur Ernest Hastings, players get to experience a different type of gaming reality that has not been explored before. Now, of course, there are many games these days which deal with alternate realities when it comes to our future, but very few games experiment with alternate realities in terms of our past. The basic premise of the game is that England is under the control of an all-powerful government that basically has complete control of everyone's lives and monitors and censors everything that they believe to be against their interests as a government. The player gets to play as the protagonist, Arthur Ernest Hastings, a member of the censorship board who censors the local newspaper. Now, it becomes very clear early on in gameplay that there is something very, very wrong with this world. All the people in this world are uncontrollably happy because of a drug that the government provides and makes mandatory, and it is known as joy. Now, of course, the name joy is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, what else is it going to be? Is it going to drive you mad like heroin or meth does? Joy basically sends the user into a kind of suppressed happiness. So they are so happy that they cannot conceive the world around them to be a very violent and dirty and disgusting place to be. This is made evident in the introduction to the player's character. Arthur basically leaves his desk and goes to a party in which all his work colleagues are beating up a piñata. Now, it all seems very fine and pleasant up until the point when blood comes spurting out of the piñata. Now, this is because Arthur's joy is wearing off rather quicker than it should, and thus he sees not a paper-mache horse with sweets being smashed up, but a bloody rat. And I'm not even swearing then, I mean it's a rat and it's bloody. It's been beaten to death by these people who perceive it to be a piñata. Soon it becomes very clear to his colleagues that something is wrong with Arthur. Once he refuses to take another joy pill, they all perceive him to be a downer. Now, a downer in this universe is very different to a downer in our universe, because in our universe, that's rather offensive. But in their universe, it is the terminology for a person who does not take joy. And as joy has been made mandatory by the government, it's pretty illegal to be a downer. So they basically call the building security on him, and the player has to get out of there super quick. But the police catch up to him and they smash him down. And then Arthur wakes up in a sewer. Now, it's from this point where the free roaming aspect of the game really gets delving into. Unlike other games, We Happy Few is actually a survival game, because as you progress through the world, your hunger and your thirst increases while your health decreases. You have got to monitor your health. I mean, it is essential, especially when there are loads of nutcases out there who want to bash your brains in just for being a downer, or even for just looking at you the wrong way. I swear, there are downers out there in the world who just want to fight just for no other reason than because. Just because. So far in the campaign, there's not really many story elements, but as I mentioned, that is only because this is a pre-game alpha version. But it is really, really well developed for a pre-alpha version of the game. Basically, the main objective of the whole game as of yet is to escape your current predicament. So Compulsion Games has gone all out to make We Happy Few a really different style of game, not just through the campaign and the story, but also through game mechanics. Now, unlike other games where you're a hero and you're big and muscular and you're always trying to fight your way out of situations, in We Happy Few, you're actually a really skinny, really scrawny bloke. And the game treats fighting as a last resort. You can only do it as a last resort because you will get beaten the hell up. The game basically requires you to blend in with your surroundings, to be unnoticeable. Kind of like an FPS version of Hitman, only you don't get to kill people as easy. There is also a very difficult crafting element involved. I mean, I should know, I really did absolutely try to build everything possible in this game. It is impossible. I had to go onto so many forums and articles just to know how to craft a Jimmy bar to help me get out of the first room. And the world is so expansive, there's so many districts of the city which you find yourself in, and they're all so perfectly detailed. And the design of the game is also very, very different. As you will see, a lot of the setting is very characterized, a lot of the characters are very characterized, and even a description of the characters and the items that they use and how to craft stuff is so mind-bogglingly characterized and exaggerated and really taken the mick out of, that it's a really fresh new way of looking at games. Not as overly serious, but as a kind of joke or a fun way to spend your evening. Now, I'm not saying that games shouldn't be taken seriously. I do love myself a good serious game. I mean, I just played the Batman Telltale game, and it was absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't change a thing about that game. But we're not here to talk about that game. We're here to talk about We Happy Few. And the way the characters speak, you can tell that this game was tailored to be an English game. It's so eccentric with the designs of the characters and the way they speak. As I mentioned earlier, descriptions of items and crafting and places and people is just crazy, it really is. Now, of course, this is only going to be a short review, as not many of the mechanics in the game have actually fully been explored yet, because, as I said, continuously, it is an alpha version. So recently, We Happy Few has been kind of getting mixed reviews, quite a lot more dislikes than likes. But personally, I think that's kind of undeserved. Because We Happy Few, as I have said, is in the pre-alpha version. It's not a full game yet. As it says on the Xbox Live Store, it's a game preview. It's not even the full game yet. But taking that into account, you've really got to appreciate how far the game developers have come with this game. I mean, for a pre-alpha version of the game, it is really well tailored to how people want to play a game. For those of you who do not know, I played the pre-alpha version of 7 Days to Die, and that game really was lacking. That's a game that really doesn't deserve any likes at all. I'm sure it will get better as it goes on. Anyway, back to We Happy Few. Now, don't get me wrong, there are quite a few things in the game which do need to be fixed, bugs and glitches, but we can expect that from a pre-alpha version, because it has literally just been released to the shelves and online on the Xbox Live Store. So really, it's what we could expect from a pre-alpha game, that there's going to be bugs and glitches. I would be very surprised if there was a perfect game that came out on alpha. In fact, I'd be a little bit suspicious. But just as the same with Star Wars Battlefront, as we have waited, it has gotten better, and I believe the same can be said for We Happy Few as the developers go along and they fix things that all the players have suggested they fix and has added in more story. Personally, I wouldn't change much of what's already in it, except, of course, for the bugs and the glitches. Just add to it. Don't subtract, just add to it. That's my personal message to the game developers. But anyway, guys, that was my quick review of the We Happy Few game preview. Tip of the hat to good old Compulsion Games. Thanks for making a very eccentric and characterized game, which I am looking forward to later developments in its future. Remember to leave a comment down below, like and subscribe to my channel, and as always, I am the Good Chap Gamer. Tally ho!
And this concludes our broadcast day. Thank you for watching The Good Chap Gamer.